I'd love to meet you, Kung Fu Hot Dog. Big fan of your channel. Just because you put fart noises in your videos makes it 100 times better than anything I normally watch. I just love it.
Ladies and gentlemen, after a very busy morning of going there, going here, going from Regent Street to Leicester Square, oh, I'm a dedicated follower of fashion. Oh, yes he is. Oh, no, he's not. Oh, yes he is. And after this video, folks, I'll be taking my first golf lesson courtesy of Miss Mackenzie Graham. And as you can see, she is totally attired for my first lesson. I can't wait. And neither, from the looks of it, can Miss Mackenzie Graham herself. But without further ado, folks, I have to bring you the woeful piece of news I've seen today. And by the way, before I go on with this news story, I was at my local pound shop today and saw this absolutely hideous recreation of a duck. Now, I'm not going to point out the obvious here, but I wonder what or who inspired this particular design. Answers in the comments below, and let's get on with today's shit show.
The name's Nukem. Duke Nukem. No, I'm not here to kick ass or chew bubblegum. I'm not here to get even with those alien bastards for shooting up my ride either. I'm here to tell you to watch Jason King on Kung Fu Hot Dog. So watch out for him and his babes of the 1980s. Oh, and one more thing. Hail to the king, baby.
So Russell T Davies is retiring the classic Davros look. Now Davros, if you don't watch Doctor Who, a classic baddie who first appeared in Terry Nation's Genesis of the Daleks in 1971. Exterminate! Exterminate! And somebody who should be exterminated, not in real life, but just from the sphere of writing, is Mr. Russell T Davies himself. Because apparently the previous look of Davros is associated with evil, because if your disability is confined in such a, well, the half shell of a Dalek, and you're evil and white with it. He didn't bring in the color aspect, but I'm bringing that in because, you know, I can do that. You bring those two together, and yes, it's evil apparently. The 2023 Doctor Who Children in Need special featured a noticeably different Davros, portrayed again by Julian Bleach. The iconic creator of the Daleks was missing his support unit and facial scarring, because once again, folks, you can't have those two core components to scare the bejesus out of your audience. No, we've got to have a nice, more friendlier kind of Davros for the 21st century. Oh, how sweet. Longtime fans attributed this to the scene taking place before the Daleks creator became the version we know. However, it seems that Davros' latest look will stick when the character inevitably reappears. Now, what does Russell T Davies say? We had long conversations about bringing Davros back. That's absolute dog shit, by the way, because he's a fantastic character. Time and society and culture, there's that C word again, and taste have moved on. No, they haven't actually. And there's a problem with the old Davros. He's wheelchair bound and he's also evil. I had problems with that. Yeah, because nobody else did. A lot of us on the production team did too, did they? I mean, can we have a word of from the production team, Mr. Davies? Can we go with a roving mic and ask them if they felt the same way as you did? Because somehow I could smell bullshit coming from your hairy ass. Trust me, there's a very long tradition of this, of nitpicking classic episodes of Doctor Who that you might find problematic in 2023. I say, this is how we see Davros now. This is what he looks like. Going back to this creation here. So apparently you must ignore the vile creation on the right. Oh yeah, okay. Pardon me for being such a bad human being. This is our lens. This is our eye. Things used to be black and white. He said it, not me. They're not anymore. Actually, they still are. Davros used to look like that, and now he looks like this. We are absolutely standing by that. So what I take away from this remark is basically you either like it or you lump it. So can you imagine Sir Patrick Stewart, great actor that he is, amazing fan casting to be Professor X back in 2000. Even I, when I heard they were making an X-Men movie, my first thought was get Jean-Luc Picard to play him, and I think everybody was in unanimous agreement. Now imagine him playing an evil version of Charles Xavier. I wonder how that would sit with today's idiots at Marvel and Disney. Oh no, we've got to completely do something new with this character. We can't have that old version anymore. It's too toxic. It's too embarrassing. Russell T Davies, if you're such a progressive human being, how come then you didn't cast somebody like Patterson Joseph as your first black doctor? I tell you why, because Mr. Joseph is black, based and straight. You can't have that in 2023, can you? But instead we shoot for the straight arrow. See what I did there? Called Shooty Gatwa, the man who couldn't play a straight person in the Barbie movie and couldn't convince me that he was playing a straight arrow. Doctor Who? Catherine Tate? David Tennant? Sorry, it's a joke. Times have moved on, and culture's changed, and attitudes have changed. No, they haven't, RTD. You have changed because you've been swallowing that ESG cum, and obviously it seems that anybody else that follows the path of RTD after he departs from this earth will carry on with the same dog shit, which is why other people like Eric July are making their own entertainment. This kind of takes me on to a nice little story, folks, regarding the domestic takings at the box office last week, and Rachel Zegler, my girl Rachel, the Hunger Games, that prequel that nobody asked for, the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, chimed in at $44 million, which is kind of lower than what they expected it to do. And the Marvels, this is hilarious. It had a it had a nosedive of minus 77.9%, taking in only $10 million at the box office last week. And so far, it's actually made, what, 65 million? That's the total gross, which is very, very piss poor. I think they're expecting to make that in the first weekend. I don't believe it did. Didn't it come in something like $47 million? Like, who cares? But anyway, because I mentioned a Disney property right there, we got to talk about the movie called Wish. I Wish Upon a Star. I'd seen the posters for this film on London buses, but I just thought, oh no, really? And I had to take a closer look because I thought this can't be right. But this is the Daily Telegraph, right? So Wish, not so much a Disney fairy tale, more of a corporate identity crisis. Because what does Disney got to do now? Yes, we have had a black female Disney princess before. I don't know why I had to be so gender specific on that one, but of course there's a reason, there's an actual reason why I mentioned that. But when you think of a Disney princess, she's either redheaded, a brunette, blonde. Again, sounds like one of my favorite issues of Playboy. But of course now you can't have any of that now. You've got to cater for the masses. It does remind me of that Lenny Henry documentary I saw on ITVX last week. God awful, because I said to my mum, look, this is going to end with some stupid corporate speech about diversity in entertainment. Lenny Henry, the national treasure of the UK, who was such a national treasure, he could have made it big in the USA like Benny Hill. And apparently Lenny's a real comic book nerd, which I don't believe anyway. I think that was all for show because, again, he's probably picking up the old comics, having problems with the characters written in them. I bet he thinks Miles Morales is actually Spider-Man and not Peter Parker. What he says at the end of that documentary was, well, it's still important to have diversity in entertainment, which is why he made a TV series about black women in 1950s or 60s Britain or Jamaica, and he's a black preacher because you can't get a white man to play that role, can you? And it looked like the most boring dog shite I've ever seen. I mean, that 15-second clip was enough to turn me the fuck off. It really was. And I can't see members of the black community saying, yeah, this is what we want, man. Yeah, give it to us, bro. Because I remember when they remade Lady Chatterley's Lover, I think it was in the early noughts with Sean Bean, and I forgot who the other, I think it was Jodie Richardson, it might be her, or Jolie Richardson, as Lady Chatterley. And I remember when it was released on video, and Blockbusters was still a thing back then. I remember I was at my local store, and this elderly black man came in, and he was asking the person behind the counter, I'm looking for Lady Chatterley. And I went, oh, do you mean this version, sir? And he's like, no, I want the recent one. Because, you know, on the back of that one, it's like an 18 certificate. It's got strong sex scenes. And I thought, this black guy right here wants to be entertained. He's not about, oh, I've got to find Black Lady Chatterley. That's the one I want. No, he knew what he was after. And that's what I mean. People just want to be entertained. They don't want to be lectured to about diversity this and diversity that. Is bullshit, and that's the mistake Disney's making right now. Because when I looked upon this creation right here, I thought, is she West Indian, is she Caribbean, or what is she? But apparently the actress who actually plays her is Ariana DeBose, or DeBose, I'm not sure how you pronounce her name. And of course, if you know why they cast her in this Disney feature film that's gonna bomb when it releases on Wednesday, her father is Puerto Rican and her mother is white. She also has African American. I hate that. It's not African American. You're just a black American with Italian ancestry. I don't give a shit about my ancestry. I have no desire to go back in time to see what's out there. Because, yeah, Benedict Cumberbatch did that, didn't he? And guess what happens? Reparations time. I'm so sorry. My elderly ancestors were slave traders. I'm truly sorry. But of course, it also emerges that Miss DeBose is also queer. In other words, she's gay and she's a strong advocate for LGBT nonsense. Because once again, ladies and gentlemen, as I've just quite rightly said, there's only two genders. Well, three if you're an hermaphrodite, and that's a whole other story altogether. Now, before I actually end this video, folks, I want to tell you a very quick story, because in 2017, I tried to get on YouTube. There was a friend that I was really good chums with him, and we tried to get the ball running with a very bad review of Logan with Hugh Jackman. And I mean, I'm not going to get into specifics here, but basically, I'm glad the channel didn't take off, because had it gone that way, I think we would have grown apart very quickly. Because for the longest time, I was kind of like a very open-minded and lefty thinking person. But as I told one of my subscribers last night, it's only until the end of 2021 that I realized half the stuff I was talking about on my channel I didn't believe in. I just like, no, why? I mean, Mackenzie, don't you agree? Well, she's not going to say anything at the moment, folks, but I don't expect her to either. You just keep looking good, doll. You just keep doing that. But yeah, I think we would have eventually gone our separate ways, and it could have been a very acrimonious split. And it's such a shame, because I did regard him as a really, really good friend, but I don't think our opinions would have meshed. And unfortunately, he's gone to that side of woke, which, and good for him. That's what he wants to believe. He's absolutely entitled to do that. But that's not my way of thinking, because I just cannot accept the absolute bullshit that goes on with his entertainment at the moment. I just find it atrocious. It's toxic. It's all Larry Fink. Oh, you've got to force behaviors on people. Well, Mr. Fink, how about this? How about you stop forcing your stupid narrative down our throats?
It's just, you have to force behaviors. And if you don't force behaviors, whether it's gender or race or just any way you want to say the composition of your team, you're going to be impacted. And that's not recruiting, it is development, as Ken said. And ultimately, it's still going to take time, but I am just as much shocked as Ken.
You thought I was asleep, didn't you?
Seeing more opportunities.
Acting.
We're going to have to
Good night.
force change.
Force us into the communist way, the compliance. If there's one thing I can't stand, folks, It's compliance. You've got to comply. We're going to force compliance on you if you don't do what we say. If you don't take the break times you're supposed to take at work, we're going to punish you. No, I'm not that person, and I never will be, because you know why? Fuck the system. So on that one, ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed today's video, which started off as Doctor Who? And then ended up with the lovely legs and cleavage of Miss Mackenzie Graham, you know what to do. But instead, don't let me say anything. Let this buffoon say something. That's right. You keep on talking. And while she's doing that, I'm here to remind you that if you like what you've seen today, make sure you hit that like button, make sure you slap that subscribe button, and if I were you, and if you were me, and if you want to see more motorboating action like this, then you better join me on the next video. So, ladies and gentlemen, after a very busy morning, going from here, from Regent Squeet, Regent Squeet?